Shadow in the deep. The vastness of space stretched before Commander Tarek as he gazed through the observation deck of Horizon 9. The station hung at the edge of Confederation territory, a lonely sentinel in the cosmic void. Around him, the familiar hum of machinery provided the only comfort in this remote corner of the galaxy. Horizon 9 was not a prestigious posting, just another listening post tracking shipping routes and scanning for potential threats to the Galactic Confederation. Another dull shift, Commander. Lieutenant Nix approached, holding 2 steaming cups of synthetic caffeine. Tarek accepted one with a nod. Dull is good in our line of work, Lieutenant. Excitement means trouble. The words had barely left his mouth when an alert chimed from Nix's wrist terminal. She frowned, setting down her cup. Speaking of trouble, anomalous reading on long-range scanners. They hurried to the command center, where the main view screen displayed a sea of stars with a single point pulsing red. Analyst Farron's fingers danced across the controls, his antennae twitching in confusion. Report, Tarek ordered, leaning over the console. Unknown vessel, sir. Size comparable to a medium frigate, but Farron hesitated, recalibrating the scanners. No energy signature, no heat emissions, no propulsion wake. It's just there. That's impossible, Nix said. Every ship leaves some kind of trace. Even stealth vessels can't hide everything. This one does. Tarek stared at the screen. Trajectory. That's another oddity. Sir, it's not following any predictable path. It's moving, organically, like it's searching for something. Tarek studied the movement pattern, a cold sensation settling in his chest. The object moved unlike anything he'd ever seen, not in straight lines or calculated curves, but with an uncanny fluidity that reminded him of a predator. Open a channel. All frequencies, he ordered. Unknown vessel, this is Commander Tarek of Confederation Outpost Horizon 9. Identify yourself immediately. Silence. Try again. More silence. Sir, Farron called out, it's changing course. It's heading straight for us. The red dot on the screen accelerated toward them at impossible speed. No known ship could maneuver like that, breaking every law of physics the Confederation understood. Shields up. Alert Confederation Command. Tarek's voice remained steady despite the fear clawing at his throat. Send them all scan data. It's not slowing down, Farron shouted. Then, just as suddenly as it had approached, the object veered away, continuing past the station on a new trajectory. It ignored us, Nix whispered. Or it scanned us and decided we weren't what it was looking for, Tarek countered. Track its new heading. Farron complied. It's moving toward the Keldaris sector. Tarek's blood ran cold. That's where Outpost Vanguard 12 is stationed. Within hours, Confederation Command responded to their alert. Admiral Lysandra Vizera herself appeared on the main view screen, her scaled face tight with concern. Commander Tarek, we're taking your report very seriously. In the past week, 3 similar sightings have been reported. In each case, the unknown vessel appeared, observed, and departed without communication. With respect, Admiral, there's something you're not telling us. Tarek had served long enough to recognize when his superiors were holding back information. Vizera's vertical pupils narrowed. Outpost Vanguard 12 went silent 3 hours ago. No distress signal, no communication, just silence. The news rippled through the command center. Vanguard 12 housed over 300 personnel and was equipped with the latest defensive technology. We're dispatching the cruiser Indomitable to investigate, Vizera continued. In the meantime, maintain full alert status. The next 2 days passed in tense silence. Then the news arrived. Vanguard 12 had been found intact, but entirely deserted. No signs of battle, no escape pods launched, no explanation for the disappearance of 300 Confederation citizens. And then, Horizon 9's sensors detected something else. A massive surge of unidentified energy at the edge of their scanning range. Location, Tarek demanded. Mining colony, Ashura 7, Nix reported. Sir, it's gone silent too. Ashura 7 was home to over 20,000 colonists. The implications were staggering. Within hours, Admiral Vizera arrived personally aboard the Indomitable, converting Horizon 9 into a temporary command center. The briefing room filled with high-ranking officers from across the sector, concern etched on faces of various species. What we're about to discuss does not leave this room. Vizera began, her voice grave. In the past week, we've lost contact with 5 outposts and 2 colonies. No distress calls, no signs of combat. They're just empty. She activated a holographic display showing the mysterious vessel. This ship matches no known configuration in our databases. Its technology appears centuries beyond our own. Are we dealing with a new species? Asked Captain Joral of the cruiser Vigilant. Unknown, Vizera replied. But there's more. The hologram changed to show writing etched into a wall at Vanguard 12. Strange, flowing script that none of them recognized. This was found at every location. Our linguists are still working on a translation, but preliminary analysis suggests it's not a warning. It's a question. What kind of question? Tarek asked. Where are they? Vizera's voice was barely audible. Over and over again. Where are they? The silence in the room was deafening. But who are they? Nix voiced what everyone was thinking. No one had an answer, but the question lingered like a shadow. The next day brought news of another sighting, this time near the Confederation core worlds. The response was immediate. A battle group of 7 ships dispatched to intercept the mysterious vessel. Tarek and the crew of Horizon 9 watched the engagement through the battle group's feeds. The mysterious vessel, a dark silhouette against the stars, made no aggressive moves as the Confederation ships surrounded it. This is Admiral Corell of the Galactic Confederation. The transmission went out. Unknown vessel, power down, and prepare to be boarded. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, impossibility. The mysterious ship simply vanished, not through any jump drive or known technology. It simply ceased to exist in that space and reappeared directly behind the Confederation flagship. Before anyone could react, tendrils of dark energy extended from the ghost ship, enveloping the flagship in silence. No explosions, no weapons fire, just quiet, terrible silence as the flagship's lights flickered and died. One by one, the other ships in the battle group suffered the same fate. 7 ships, over 10,000 crew members, gone in minutes. In the stunned silence that followed, Admiral Vizera made a decision. We need to form a specialized task force, she announced. Something about this entity is deliberately targeting our outposts. This isn't random. It's searching for something specific. Or someone, Tarek suggested quietly. Vizera studied him for a long moment. Yes, that's what worries me. She turned to her aide. Bring me the sealed archives on Project Harbinger. Authorization Vizera Black 9. The aide's expression revealed his shock. Admiral, those records were sealed by the High Council itself, and now I'm unsealing them. Her tone left no room for argument. I believe our mysterious visitor is connected to something the Confederation did a long time ago, something we've tried very hard to forget. As the records were retrieved, Vizera explained to the assembled officers, 300 years ago, the Confederation discovered a developing world on the fringes of our territory. The species showed remarkable technological advancement, moving from primitive technology to early space travel in less than 2 centuries. The holographic display activated again, showing an image that caused everyone to stare in shock. A small blue-green planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. The Confederation of that era deemed them a potential threat. Their rate of advancement was unprecedented, and their behavior unpredictable. The High Council made a decision. What kind of decision? Tarek asked, though he already feared the answer. They ordered the planet quarantined, all records of its existence buried. The entire star system placed under interdiction with automated defenses to ensure the species remained isolated. You imprisoned an entire species. Nyx couldn't hide her horror. It was wrong, Vizera admitted. But it was centuries ago, under a different council, different values. We thought the matter closed. But it isn't closed, is it? Tarek gestured to the reports of the missing outposts. No. Vizera pulled up another image. The mysterious ship alongside ancient schematics. 2 years ago, the quarantine satellites around that system went offline. We sent a ship to investigate. It never returned. And now, I believe, they've come looking for answers. Who are they, Admiral? Tarek asked, though he suspected he knew. They called themselves humans, Vizera said, and I believe they've spent 3 centuries preparing to ask us one question. As if on cue, the lights throughout Horizon 9 flickered and died. Emergency systems engaged, bathing the command center in red light. It's here, Farron whispered, his voice trembling. On the view screen, a massive shadow passed before the station, far larger than the vessel they'd tracked before. It moved with impossible grace for its size, more like a living creature than a ship. And then, for the first time, it sent a message. A single line of text appeared on every screen throughout the station. We are the others. The human variable. The message hung on every screen throughout Horizon 9, its simple question carrying the weight of centuries. We are the others. Admiral Vizera stared at the words, her composure cracking for the first time. Open a channel, she ordered. All frequencies. Channel open. Lieutenant Nyx confirmed, her voice barely steady. This is Admiral Lysandra Vizera of the Galactic Confederation. We wish to establish peaceful communication. Please identify yourself. For several excruciating moments, nothing happened. Then the screens flickered, and a face appeared, distinctly humanoid, with pale skin, dark eyes, and no scales or external modifications visible. A human face, but somehow not quite as the historical records had shown. There was something different, something evolved. I am Captain Ilara Vega of the Earth vessel Nemesis, the figure said. Her voice was melodic yet carried an undertone of steel. We have been observing your civilization for some time, Admiral Vizera. The name confirmation sent a chill through the command center. They knew who Vizera was. They had been watching. Captain Vega, Vizera acknowledged, maintaining her diplomatic poise. Your question asks about the others. Can you clarify who you're seeking? Ilara's expression remained impassive. 300 years ago, your Confederation quarantined Earth. Before the quarantine was established, 17 Earth vessels with over 12,000 colonists had departed our system. They never arrived at their destinations. We want to know what happened to them. The revelation struck like a physical blow. Commander Tarek looked to Vizera, whose scales had paled significantly. I have no knowledge of any human colony ships, Vizera admitted. This occurred long before my time. Then I suggest you consult your sealed archives, Ilara replied coldly. Specifically, the files on Operation Harbinger. The name matched the classified files Vizera had just requested. Her aide approached with a secure data crystal, whispering urgently in her ear. Vizera's expression shifted from confusion to horror as she listened. We request a direct meeting, Vizera said finally. This matter deserves more than a screen conversation. After a pause, Ilara nodded. Agreed. I will come aboard your station with 2 representatives. Any sign of hostility will be met with immediate response from the Nemesis. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Admiral, Tarek ventured, what did your aide tell you? Vizera clutched the data crystal tightly. The truth, Commander. A truth so terrible that the Confederation buried it for 3 centuries. 20 minutes later, a shuttle detached from the massive shadow vessel and approached Horizon 9. Unlike the main ship, this smaller craft was visible to conventional scanners, though its technology remained beyond anything the Confederation possessed. The docking procedure happened with precision, and soon 3 figures stepped through the airlock. Captain Ilara Vega flanked by 2 others. All human, all watching with careful, evaluating eyes. Unlike the Confederation officers with their various evolutionary adaptations from different worlds, the humans appeared deceptively simple, yet something about them radiated a quiet, dangerous power. In the conference room, Admiral Vizera waited with Commander Tarek, Lieutenant Nix, and 2 security officers. The humans took their seats across the table without ceremony. Captain Ilara Vega, the leader, introduced herself again. My science officer, Dr. Rajan Shah, and Security Chief Morgan Chen. Vizera made the corresponding introductions, then placed the data crystal on the table between them. Before we begin, she said gravely, I want to acknowledge that what I've learned in the past hour shames me deeply, both personally and as a representative of the Confederation. She activated the crystal. Holographic records appeared above the table, ancient by Confederation standards, but preserved with perfect clarity. 300 years ago, the Confederation was different, Vizera began. Younger, more fearful, more cruel. When Earth was discovered, the Advanced Science Division conducted extensive monitoring. They determined that humans were advancing technologically at an unprecedented rate, but more concerning to them was human unpredictability. The hologram showed Confederation analysis of human behavior, their conflicts, their passions, their rapid cultural shifts. The Confederation of that era feared what humans might become. Vizera continued. So they implemented Project Harbinger, a 2-phase operation. Phase 1 was the quarantine of Earth itself. And Phase 2? Dr. Shah asked quietly. Vizera's voice grew heavy. Phase 2 targeted the 17 colony ships that had already left your system. The operation intercepted each vessel before it could establish any colony. The ships were disabled. The colonists were not killed. What happened to them? Captain Vega's voice remained controlled, but her knuckles whitened as she gripped the edge of the table. They were separated and distributed across dozens of research facilities throughout Confederation space. The Confederation wanted to study humans, your adaptability, your intelligence, your capacity for innovation. They reasoned that understanding humans might help them develop countermeasures should the quarantine ever fail. Horror dawned on Tarek's face. They were experimented on. Not just experimented on. Ilara interrupted, her calm finally breaking. They were bred, selectively modified, their genetic material harvested for centuries. We'd found 7 of the facilities so far, all abandoned decades ago. The record showed generations of suffering. The accusation hung in the air like a physical thing. The facilities were shut down nearly a century ago, Vizera confirmed, checking the records. A more progressive council determined the program unethical. The subjects were terminated, murdered, Security Chief Chen corrected coldly. Yes, Vizera acknowledged. Murdered, out of fear of what would happen if they were ever discovered. A terrible silence filled the room. How did you find us? Lieutenant Nix finally asked. The quarantine failed, Dr. Shah explained. Not because we broke it from within, but because it broke down naturally. 3 centuries of automated systems eventually degraded. When the first gaps appeared, we were ready. We'd never stopped watching the barriers around our system. The ship, Tarek said, your vessel, it doesn't operate on any principles we understand. For the first time, a small smile touched Captain Vega's lips. Of course not. While your Confederation was busy keeping us contained, we continued evolving, continued innovating. Without access to traditional FTL methods, we had to find alternatives. The Nemesis doesn't travel through space as you understand it, Dr. Shah added. It moves through the spaces between spaces, what you might call dimensional folds. Impossible, one of the security officers muttered. 300 years ago, powered flight was impossible to our ancestors, Ilara countered. 300 years is a long time for a species that adapts as quickly as humanity. Admiral Vizera straightened in her chair. What happens now, Captain Vega? You found your answers, terrible as they are. Is it revenge you seek? Because I assure you, the Confederation of today is not the same entity that committed these crimes. Isn't it? Ilara challenged. You still kept the quarantine active. You still buried the truth. Out of ignorance, not malice, Vizera insisted. Most of us never knew. Ilara stood slowly, her presence somehow filling the room despite her average height. We don't seek the destruction of your Confederation, Admiral. If we did, you wouldn't be having this conversation. The Nemesis could have reduced this station to atoms before you knew we were here. Then what do you want? Tarek asked. Justice, Ilara answered simply. Acknowledgement, and a seat at the table. She placed a small device on the conference table. It projected a map of the galaxy, with several points illuminated. These are the remaining research facilities we haven't yet located. We want all records unsealed, all sites disclosed. We want proper memorials established. We want the full truth taught in your historical archives. That can be arranged, Vizera nodded. And we want recognition, Ilara continued. Earth is no longer an isolated world. We have established colonies throughout our solar system and beyond. We request formal diplomatic relations with the Confederation, as equals. The request hung in the air. Technically, Vizera didn't have the authority to grant it. Such a decision would require full Council approval. I will advocate for this personally before the High Council, she promised. But I must warn you, there will be resistance. Fear does not disappear easily. We understand fear, Ilara replied. But we also understand that isolation breeds misunderstanding. For too long, your Confederation has feared a caricature of humanity, one frozen in time from 3 centuries ago. Dr. Shaw activated another hologram, showing Earth and its colonies, magnificent cities under domes on Mars, floating habitats in the clouds of Venus, mining operations in the asteroid belt, a civilization that had flourished despite its confinement. We've changed, he said, and I suspect your Confederation has too. As they spoke, an urgent communication interrupted them. Lieutenant Nix checked her terminal, her eyes widening. Admiral, we're receiving reports of incursions in multiple sectors. Ships matching the Nemesis configuration have appeared at 17 different Confederation worlds simultaneously. The humans showed no surprise. We did not come unprepared, Ilara said calmly. The Nemesis is merely one of our exploration vessels. We have been watching for decades, learning your languages, your customs, your weaknesses. We established listening posts throughout your territory years ago. The revelation should have been terrifying. But instead, it underscored a simple truth. If humans had wanted war, they could have struck without warning. A demonstration of capability, Vizera surmised, not an invasion. Exactly, Ilara confirmed. Our vessels will withdraw once our agreement is formalized. But know this, we will never allow ourselves to be caged again. The implicit threat was clear, but so was the opportunity. Vizera made her decision. Commander Tarek, prepare my shuttle. I'm returning to Confederation Central immediately to present this matter to the High Council. She turned to Captain Vega. I request that you send a representative with me. The Council should hear directly from humanity. Ilara nodded. Dr. Shaw will accompany you. As the meeting concluded, Commander Tarek escorted the human delegation back toward their shuttle. Walking alongside Captain Vega, he finally asked the question that had been bothering him. Your ship, the Nemesis, the way it moves, the technology. How did humanity advance so far while contained to one system? Ilara stopped, studying him with those penetrating eyes. Have you ever considered, Commander, what happens when you take a species known for creativity and adaptability and tell them there's a barrier they cannot cross, a puzzle they cannot solve? They become obsessed with crossing it, Tarek realized. The quarantine didn't stifle human innovation, she confirmed. It focused it. Every resource, every brilliant mind, united in solving one problem: how to break free. A smile touched her lips. Your Confederation gave us the greatest gift imaginable, a seemingly impossible challenge. As the humans departed, Admiral Vizera stood at the observation deck, watching the massive shadow of the Nemesis against the stars. We feared them for so long, Lieutenant Nick said, joining her, created monsters in our imagination, and in doing so, perhaps created the very thing we feared. Vizera replied, but also something more, something we needed. Admiral, the Confederation has grown complacent, Lieutenant. Stagnant. Perhaps what we need isn't less humanity in our galaxy, but more. As if hearing her words, the Nemesis shifted, no longer a threatening shadow, but a silent sentinel, watching, waiting for the Confederation's answer. 3 months later, the quarantine of Earth was officially lifted. Diplomatic relations were established. The truth of Operation Harbinger was revealed to the galaxy, met with shock and condemnation. And humanity stepped onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors or victims, but as innovators, bringing with them technologies and perspectives that challenged 3 centuries of Confederation thinking. The ghost ships that had once inspired terror now carried human diplomats and scientists throughout Confederation space, their unique method of travel studied and marveled at by the very civilization that had once feared them. Commander Tarek, newly promoted to oversee joint human Confederation research initiatives, often reflected on the irony. In trying to contain what they feared, the Confederation had created exactly what they most needed: a force for change, for progress, for evolution. And somewhere in deep space, the Nemesis continued its patrols, a reminder of a simple truth that the Confederation had forgotten. Nothing in the universe is more dangerous than a caged mind finally set free.